Hi, Dr. Lisa Hynes here, the Head of Health Programs with Croí. I'd like to talk to you in this video about making and maintaining changes for the healthiest lifestyle possible for you. So I want to start talking about this whole idea of behavior change, lifestyle change, healthy lifestyle, by kind of setting out a few important truths about what it is to be human and why we find change so difficult. I think an idea that really captures the difficulties that we face is the fact that when it comes down to it, apple pie will always taste better than apples. We can actually be quite ambivalent towards health because health and good health and all of those ideas, well-being, are things that seem desirable. And of course, they are in many ways desirable. We assume that that means that they're also easy and preferable and kind of the default choice and the default direction that we will go when we're making choices. But really often that isn't the case. The healthy choice is often the harder choice, or not the thing that's already built into your lifestyle. The world, the way that our society is set up, can often actually stand in the way of the kind of healthier choices as we understand them. The fact is that when it comes to humans, we're programmed to go for instant gratification, comfort, routine, familiarity, predictability. We're programmed to avoid change, things that are uncomfortable, things that are different to our routine, things that are unpredictable. These are kind of general rules of what it is to be human. And so change feels hard because it is hard. And the healthy choice, the healthy option, is not always the easy one or even the preferable one. There's a lot of good reasons for our lifestyles to be set up the way that they are. It's not because we're not, we don't know or understand health. We do, but it's just more complicated than that. So where we're talking about, living a healthier lifestyle, making changes for our health, really important to start off with that understanding that it is a complicated thing. However, it's also the case that there are huge gains to be achieved, to be reached through making small, gradual, but consistent tweaks in the ways that we live. The body is very forgiving, very resilient. So it's never too late. We are never too old to turn our attention to our health and to make changes in our lives to support our health, to support our own priorities when it comes to our health. So it's not easy to make changes, but small things here and there that we are interested in, that sound good to us, whether it's around the ways that we eat, the ways that we shop, the exercise or activity we engage in, these things actually make a really significant difference to our bodies, to our mindset, particularly if we engage in them consistently over time. So we can have a real impact on things like our blood pressure, our cholesterol, our sense of well-being, our sense of energy through these small, not always simple, but small tweaks. There's a lot to be gained. However, in the area that I work in, health psychology or behavioral science, we like to say that behavior change isn't rocket science. It's more complicated. We do the things that we do today because we did them yesterday, and the day before, and the day before. They're built into our routine. And we have so much to be doing, to be remembering, so many obligations, being pulled here, there, and everywhere. We tend to go along with the routine that we are in. Our routine is also dictated by, our learning history, the kind of context that we live in, our work obligations, our family obligations, whatever the case may be. So we don't even have a kind of choice or control over absolutely everything in our lives. So if we try to make a change in any of the elements of our lives or of our routines, it is within this whole quite kind of ingrained system. And so when we make a change, we're kind of swimming upstream. So in order to successfully make a change, it's important to recognize that there are all of these barriers, these very practical barriers often, And so being aware of these challenges, being understanding and accepting of these challenges, and realizing that the only way that we're going to really make change in this complex system is through getting a big picture understanding of ourselves, of our lives, and to see where we can support ourselves to make changes and to succeed with those changes. We have a kind of a belief that all we need in order to kind of make a change is knowledge or motivation. We feel that we can just flip a switch if we hear something interesting or maybe scary about health, or we get a big lecture from the doctor or from a family member or a friend or from ourselves, or we feel very motivated to get out to the gym or whatever it is, that just by getting that injection of knowledge or insight or motivation, that's it. We're changed, we're different, it's all going to be easy. But we can all relate to that experience of, despite maybe having knowledge or drive or motivation or whatever it is towards change, pretty quickly that knowledge or fear that we might have had, or that lecture that we might have had, it loses its power over time. Other things get in the way, we get distracted, where the motivation just doesn't actually lead us anywhere or keep us going past a few days or a few weeks of getting out to the gym or whatever it is. So it isn't like flipping a switch, making a change. There's an awful lot more in this journey of getting from knowing to doing. We all know a huge amount about our health. We understand a huge amount about our health. We can often feel very motivated to, live our healthiest life, to mind ourselves, or whatever the case may be. But the key thing here is that it is a journey. There is a lot going on there between knowing and doing. So change is actually about a combination of factors. It's about knowledge, confidence, and motivation, and our external resources, the way that we live, the demands on us in our lives, and the resources we have available to us. They play a huge role, and it's really important to acknowledge that. But as well as that, those internal factors, knowledge, confidence, motivation, are absolutely essential to making a change. So the process of getting from knowing to doing involves a lot of things, including things like setting goals, plus making action plans, plus setting our action plans up in such a way that we ensure we achieve our goals, we achieve the baby steps of our kind of sub goals on the way to our big goal. And it's through the combination of those activities that we gain and grow the knowledge, confidence, and motivation that is required for change to happen, and really importantly, for change to be sustained. It is not like flipping a switch. This whole process of getting from knowing to doing, it's much more complex than that. It's much more of a journey than that. But it is something that there are strategies and tools that we can draw on to really support us to make that journey successfully. Really important, though, to acknowledge again, there will be ups and downs. Life will change. Going to the gym or shopping in a certain way, or eating regular meals, or whatever it is that's important to you or that is part of your health goal, won't always be the top of your list. Sometimes life will be very busy, or you'll be away on holidays, or there may be an illness in the family. There will be complications, there will be ups and downs. Part of this process of change is planning for ups and downs, planning for times when your resources will be lower, and planning for ways to get yourself back on that horse. Really important to acknowledge as well that stress and stress management plays a big role when it comes to making changes. I mentioned a little bit earlier on that we try to avoid change as humans. We try to avoid things that are unpredictable or uncomfortable or unfamiliar. So if you were embarking on a journey of change, you are seeking to make changes in some aspect of your life or your lifestyle, straight away you're introducing something stressful. So important to acknowledge that, and to include elements of stress management, self-care as part of your toolkit to help you to make that journey towards your goal. But also stress and stress management is an important part of life in general at all times in our lives, because stress is normal, stress is part of life. But we say that stress is kind of like blood pressure. We all have stress, we all have blood pressure. But if blood pressure gets too high, it's time to do something about it. And that's the same with stress. If it's getting too high, if it's starting to take over in your life and affect the way you live your life and your ability to do things that you want to be doing, then it's time to do something about it. So managing stress in general, and then in particular, if you're seeking to introduce changes in your life, is a really important piece of the puzzle. So I wanted to introduce a way of thinking about our routines, our habits, the things that are behind the behaviors that we engage in, the actions that we engage in, the routines that are so strongly built into our lives. It can sometimes feel as if we are almost hostages to our routines, to the ways that things are. So by asking ourselves kind of a number of different, pretty simple questions, we can help ourselves to get access to the drivers behind our behavior, and also the things that are maybe standing in the way, acting as barriers to us doing things differently. We often don't engage in these kinds of questions or thought processes. And as a result, we can kind of go around in this constant loop of wanting things to be different, feeling very motivated, knowing exactly what we want to be doing and why. Just feeling completely flummoxed as to why things aren't changing, or we're finding it so difficult to take those steps to make changes. And remember, as I said, change feels difficult because it is difficult. There are many barriers and many reasons why it's difficult to make changes. So this is all about bringing a little bit more understanding and insight to the challenges, to what it is to be human, in order to support ourselves to make changes. So first, I just want to kind of bring a bit of attention to the talk of behavior at all. In the past, we kind of spoke, I suppose, more generally in this area about lifestyle. But more and more now, and particularly with the influence of COVID-19, we've started to talk about behavior and behavior change. These have become terms and ideas that are kind of much more popular out there in social media and on the television and whatever it is. So what are we talking about here, and why? So, as you will know, behavior is our actions, the things that we do, the observable actions that we make. So why are we talking about behavior here? We often talk about our health goals in terms of more kind of general things, such as I want to lose weight. Or we might also say things like, I want to lower my blood pressure. I want to lower my cholesterol. I want to feel better. And these are really important, completely legitimate and valid things for us to want around our health. But an important thing to notice here is that these are outcomes. They're big, broad, general outcomes. But we know from behavioral science that it is much more helpful and clear to think about our health in terms of behaviors rather than outcomes, particularly if we are looking to make a change. So when you take these outcomes like losing weight, lowering cholesterol or blood pressure, feeling better, if you think about them in terms of behaviors or behaviors that drive the outcomes or that are relevant to the outcomes, you might think of things like reducing portion sizes, cutting down on salt and sugar, walking every day. And these are behaviors or actions. And you see, by even just shifting your focus from outcomes to behaviors straight away, we're in a much more specific, clear place. And that's a really important kind of step to take when you're in the process of looking to make a change. It straight away puts you in a kind of a much clearer, kind of more visual, specific place in terms of starting to make steps towards your goal. Reducing portion size is an awful lot clearer and easier to action than something like losing weight. There are many, many things that are relevant to things like losing weight or lowering cholesterol, if those are things that are important to you. So in order to support ourselves and help ourselves to activate, getting specific is a really important step. And so switching from thinking about our health in terms of outcomes to behaviors is a really good place to start. So maybe ask yourself at this point, what are the outcomes that I'm interested in? What are the kind of big things? Like maybe your priorities are things like feeling healthier, lowering cholesterol, having more energy. These are great things. And if they are important to you, then that's the main thing. But they are very broad and very general. And they don't give us a whole lot in terms of direction or clarity. And without direction and clarity, we have uncertainty. And uncertainty tends to keep us exactly where we are. Where we have uncertainty, we stay with the status quo. So what we want to do at the beginning of this process is help ourselves to gain a little bit more clarity, a little bit more certainty to be able to take some steps. So maybe these are my priorities when it comes to my health: feeling healthier, lowering cholesterol, having more energy. But what am I talking about in terms of behavior? So maybe you're going to jot these things down as you're listening to be here to shift your thoughts a little bit, to start thinking about your health and getting from knowing to doing when it comes to your health in a slightly different way. So in this case, and now there are many behaviors or actions that could be relevant to things like feeling healthier, lowering cholesterol, and having more energy. So just for the purposes of this example, I'm going to say that for me, in my personal case, when I think of these outcomes, the behaviors in my life that are relevant are my evening eating habits, how regular my exercise is or not, as the case may be, and better sleep. So those are the things, and it doesn't have to be 3. It's just when I sat and thought about my priorities and the actions that are relevant, these are the things that came to me. But there is no kind of, right or wrong way to do this exercise. It's simply an exercise. Next, really useful question to ask ourselves is, who needs to be doing what differently, when and where? What needs to shift for something different to be happening? So I might maybe in the case of this example, I need to sign up for an exercise class. I need to examine my evening eating habits. I've learned from the Croí MyBalance program that understanding certain eating habits, understanding types of hunger is really important, but I'm just still getting my head around that. So I need to spend some time on that. And I need to start a 10-minute sleep routine, because it's something that I'm hearing people talk about a lot, that we need to start, winding ourselves down to sleep, and I don't do that at all. So these are some things that I need to do differently. And then asking ourselves, why is this not happening right now? When I look at these things that I need to be doing differently to start, shifting things in terms of these behaviors and actions that are relevant to my priority, what are the barriers to them? So why is this not happening right now? Okay, so just for the purposes of the example of the exercise, I'm going to pull out the signing up for an exercise class example. Why is this not happening already? I know exercise is important. I've always wanted to, go to 2 or 3 exercise classes a week and just have that in my routine. I see people doing it all the time, but why is it not happening already? This is a really powerful question to ask ourselves. So when I sit down with my pen and my paper to kind of really ask myself this question and reflect, I come up with a few answers. And this is just personal for the exercise for me. And now when you're jotting down different thoughts yourself there, you might come up with completely different things. But just to illustrate, I realize when I ask myself this question, I know I should, but I'm so tired by the end of the day, it just doesn't happen. I'm too busy. I don't know how far I can push my sore knee. I have myself talked out of going to the exercise class or signing up for it by the end of the day, every time. I ultimately struggle with the idea of, signing up for 1 or 2 classes a week at €15 each. It's just a bit expensive for me. And when I go, if I was to go, I know that everyone else will be fitter and already know each other. And that really makes me nervous. So, by the time, 5 or 10 minutes, I've reflected, why is this not happening already? Why haven't I signed up for an exercise class? Actually, that's a lot of reasons. And I didn't even realize that I had that many reasons, that all of these things were kind of, swirling around in my head and blocking me from signing up for an exercise class. So the purpose of this is to find that big picture view for you as to why something isn't happening, what the barriers are. But it's not to give ourselves a hard time. It's to give ourselves some insight and some understanding. So now we have somewhere to go from. We have something to work with. We can maybe even say, geez, those are really good reasons. As I said, I didn't realize they were all swirling around in my head. No wonder I'm so exhausted thinking about this, and no wonder I haven't done it. So what now? These are all of the things that I'm thinking, that I'm feeling, but I really do want to sign up for an exercise class. So what can I do with this information? What this information gives us the opportunity to do is see opportunities for support. It's a really powerful and important thing in the context of making changes to understand our specific goals and priorities, think of them in terms of behaviors and actions, identify our barriers to them. So why are they not happening? And then address those barriers, get up and over those barriers, a huge piece in the journey of making a change. And getting up and over barriers is about supporting ourselves. So now that I have an idea of my barriers, I have some targets to support myself that may be helpful for me to actually get going with this, sign up for my exercise class and get going with it because I want to, it's important to me. So the first one, I know I should, but I'm so tired by the end of the day. Maybe something that my tired self might benefit from is an encouraging message that I set an alarm so that it pops up at 6 p.m. when I'm just logging out from work. I'm going to be tired, but I really want to be able to go to that exercise class. So I'm going to set the alarm to say something encouraging that is going to be encouraging for me to help myself to get up and over that tired moment because I know that it'll be worth it and I'll feel better after. So maybe that's one thing that I could try to get up and over that first barrier. Next one, I feel like I'm too busy. I can't imagine fitting in more in my week. But then, I need to ask myself, well, is this really a priority then? I said that feeling healthier, exercising regularly, bringing down my cholesterol, that these were things that were priorities for me. So, I am busy. That is true. But if this is a priority, then I need to start acting like it's a priority. So do I need to shift the way that I'm thinking about my busyness and my health priorities to help myself to see things a little bit differently, maybe move things around a little bit so that I'm, I suppose, kind of following through on that belief that I have that my health is a priority and actually make it a priority for myself. My sore knee, I am not a physio, so I don't know how far I can push my sore knee, and I don't need to know that. How would I know it? But if I want to be exercising, then I'm going to need to figure it out. So I might need to, go to the GP or go to the physio and actually find out what the story with my knee is to take care of that barrier. Without fail, I know even if I sign up for an exercise class, I'll have myself talked out of it by the end of the day. So, maybe in this case, I need to sit down with myself or with a friend and kind of try to understand this. Why am I talking myself out of it? Is it because of this, this last reason that everyone else will know each other and they'll be fitter? What's behind it? How is the exercise class making me feel? What's happening during my day that's making me start the process of talking myself out of it? Can I start thinking about actually how great I'll feel afterwards and shift things around in my head a little bit? Maybe I need to set a reminder during the day around the time when I know I'm going to start that negative self-talk. Maybe I need to have a friend roped in so that they can drag me along, even if I have myself talked out of it. And any other ways that I can see to remove barriers to getting to that class. but also making a point of being gentle with myself. If I'm talking myself out of it, there's clearly something going on, something that I'm just not comfortable with. So can I bring some compassion? Can I talk gently to myself? Can I talk to myself as I would a friend, and try to encourage myself to take these steps that I want to take to get up and over these barriers? Exercise classes can be expensive, and if they're not in my budget, then there's no point in forcing things. Maybe I need to join an outdoor walking group that's a city council and it's free of charge, or go to the outside exercise equipment that are kind of freely available in different parks. Maybe I need to take up jogging, just outside or walking. Maybe I need to do YouTube videos. It's not fair to set myself a goal that isn't within my means. Or maybe it actually is within my budget and it is a priority for me. So maybe I need to sit down and figure out, actually, is it too expensive for me or not? And then lastly, this barrier, everyone else will be fitter and they'll already know each other. Just that kind of like, social pressure, really difficult, can be really vulnerable to walk into an exercise class. So this may be totally true. They may be fitter, they may already know each other, but is that something that really needs to stop me from doing this exercise class, which I really want to do? So a useful kind of mental exercise or activity here is to practice acknowledging our ability to hold more than one thought. So one strategy is the idea of saying simply yes and. So yes, this thing is true and I don't feel great about it. I feel a bit worried about it. And I'm going to go anyway. So we can feel worried and not super happy about something, but we can still do something in that situation. It's not a perfect situation, but there may still be a desire to take action or get involved, because on balance, it's still important enough to us. So there are many opportunities for us to understand what's going on, understand what our barriers, what our blocks are, bring understanding, bring a bit of compassion, and then ask ourselves, where can I support myself? Where are the opportunities here for me to get up and over barriers so that I can start moving in the direction of this goal that is important to me? So just a bit of a thought exercise there to help you to maybe kind of walk and talk yourself through these important questions. What are my priorities? What are the actions or behaviors that are relevant to them? What do I need to be doing differently? Why are those things not happening? And then once I have an idea of my barriers, I can start to put some supports into place, all from a place of understanding change. Feels hard because it is hard, to start moving ourselves forward. Another really useful tool to helping us to get from knowing to doing is goal setting. So a goal is a clear thing that we want to achieve. It's something that's personally important to us. It can be anything. There is no right or wrong goal. It's very personal. And the goal being truly personal and truly our goal is a really important characteristic of a goal. And setting goals is useful because it helps us to kind of narrow our focus. It helps us to deal better with distractions, and to develop a bit of a kind of laser focus on the thing that we're working towards, because there are so many distractions and different considerations in our lives. But by setting and getting clear on a goal, we can be more likely to work towards it than if we don't set a goal or if we don't get clear on where it is that we want to go. So I clearly have left out some words in this first sentence here. So choose one health-related goal. So maybe for this example, we'll say feeling healthier without dieting. Maybe that's my goal. I've done all of the diets under the sun, and I don't want to do any more. I haven't found that they worked, and they actually bring up a lot of kind of worry and anxiety and bad memories at this stage. So that might be my goal. But just for this exercise, have a think about what your goal is. And you will have received a handout with these slides also, that will help you to work down through some kind of identification of goals, setting of goals, and so on. And we'll talk about that more in a moment. So start by choosing your health goal. try to keep it to just a few, 1, 2, 3 goals, not 5, not 10. So a small enough number. What is your health goal? And then asking yourself, why this goal? And as I said, so important for the goal to be your personal goal, and having that kind of personal emotional connection, really wanting to achieve that goal is a really important kind of ingredient, particularly when it comes to those more challenging moments. And there will be times when it's really hard to stick to your goal, or it just feels like a total mountain or miles away. So again, having that emotional connection to it can really help you with that perseverance in the more challenging times. So step 1, choosing your goal. Step 2, what actions are needed to help to achieve this goal? So remember, this is similar to the exercise that we just did. So thinking about your goal, which tends to be something kind of big, general, broad, what are the actions that are relevant to that goal? So managing my stress, eating regular meals, and reducing biscuits in the house. These are things that feel really important to me when it comes to feeling healthier without dieting. Step 3, why is this action not happening right now? So if I think of these 3 actions, there are many actions I could have chosen, but these are the ones that feel relevant to me, that feel important to me, and yours will be whatever they are for you. And then asking myself in relation to each of them, why is it not happening right now? And again, this is similar to the previous exercise. And what this is about is identifying barriers. So when I think about managing my stress, the barrier here for me is that I don't know where to start. My life is so busy. There is so much going on. So many people looking for something from me. Work is so busy. It's demanding. I have no time for myself. So the idea of managing my stress more just feels like nothing but barriers. I don't know where to start. And when it comes to eating more regular meals, again, the days just feel so busy. They're all a bit different. I have really found it hard to settle into a kind of a routine around eating. And anytime I try, something comes up. So that's my main barrier there, is just the busyness. And then finally, when it comes to the biscuits in the house, the fact is that it feels very much like a reward. I sit down with my, packet of biscuits, a cup of tea at the end of the day, and I really look forward to it. It feels like my reward at the end of a long day. So remember, identifying barriers is about getting a clearer picture of what's going on for you, not to give yourself a hard time, but to help you to see where there are opportunities for you to get up and over barriers, to put supports into place. Next step is to set SMART goals. So we're moving here to kind of more and more clear picture of things, all with the aim of getting from knowing to doing. We started with our big general goal, and we're working down through this process to give ourselves really specific, clear actions that we can start doing today and tomorrow in the direction of our goal. By staying with these big general goals, taking steps, taking actions today and tomorrow is much more difficult. There are so many things we could be doing to achieve these outcomes. But this process we're talking about now is about getting clear and specific, so that we know, we have in our mind's eye, and we can organize around the specific steps and tasks we can do from moment to moment, from day to day, to get in the direction of our goals. Without this, it's all just too general. We don't know where to start. We don't have any prompts or cues. We don't know what to focus on. And so consistency is so much harder to set up. So setting SMART goals is something that's described in your handout. So you might have that out beside you now as you're going down through this presentation. So SMART is a very common tool for setting goals, and goals are an evidence-based way to help us to change our behavior. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Specific is a really important one. It's a word I've mentioned a few times now in this presentation. So in relation to my kind of 3 key actions or behaviors that I want to focus on, and my kind of understanding now of some of the barriers to them, My specific goals that I'm going to start with are 1, to do 10 minutes of meditation using an app before bed from Monday to Thursday. 2 is to eat lunch on 2 weekdays for 1 month. That's my goal. And my lunch is going to be soup and brown bread because I like it and I know it's super simple and easy and I can do it. And 3 is that I'm going to replace my biscuit in the evening with my favorite berries that I really enjoy eating, a little bit of sweetness. And I'm going to celebrate the end of the long day, which is something that I like and is part of my current routine, with a self-care treat, like a face mask, or maybe I'll do my nails, or maybe I'll, listen to my favorite music, or, have a walk, or call a friend that I really like talking to, things that are rewarding to me but are not food related. So these are 3 pretty random goals, but the key thing is that they are things that I like the sound of. They are specific. They have a lot of detail to them. I think that they will fit into my life. They're, as I said, things that I like the sound of. But they can be different for everyone. There is no right or wrong here. But as I said, one of the key things is how specific they are. So you see, for example, I have the amount of time that I'm going to do the meditation. I said I'm going to use an app. I'm going to do it before bed. And I'm going to pick specific evenings. The more detail that you have, the easier it is for us to then imagine where it's going to fit in our lives, and actually start to set ourselves up to fit these things in. Making things measurable is something that as humans we respond to really well. It's something that is a kind of a natural inbuilt kind of tendency or preference. So you may measure your progress with a goal in a whole range of ways. And the recommendation is to do something that's closest to what you already do. So if you're a kind of a paper and pen person, you might do a diary or a calendar. If you're a bit more techie, you might use an app or maybe an online calendar. But whatever it is, when you think of your goal, think of a way to track it and measure it along the way. And this can be really helpful because it gives us that sense of achievement, which is so important for us to get in contact with. But it also helps us to see if maybe we need more support, because maybe we're missing a few days here and there. Always being understanding and kind and gentle towards ourselves, but also then putting in supports along the way where needed too. It's really important for our goal to be achievable. So this is all about making a plan for yourself, outlining a goal that will set you up for success. Because again, that sense of achievement, having achievement from day to day, is so crucial for us to grow that knowledge, that confidence, that motivation that I talked about earlier. In order for change to occur, we need to get past kind of wanting or thinking about the goal to actually experiencing success on the way towards the goal. It's that experience of success that is so key. So, for example, in relation to these goals that I have entered here, in order to make it achievable, it's really important for me to not aim for me to complete these goals every day of the week. I know that that's not achievable for me. Things are so busy. These are new things. As I said, changes like swimming upstream. So for example, with my meditation app, I'm going to do my very best to do this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but there's no way they're going to happen Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because there's so much else on. So for this to be achievable, for me to be able to celebrate every Friday morning, I'm going to focus on those 4 days of the week. And that's a huge step from where I am right now. In terms of a realistic goal, this is all about starting from where you are. So there's no point in planning to run a marathon in a month if you don't already have a strong routine of running, for example. So start where you are. Is really important to maximize your likelihood of success, of being able to reach your goal. So for example, in relation to my kind of regular meals, I'm going to start with lunch, and I'm going to start on with 2 weekdays, and I'm going to focus on a month-long period of time. And depending on how that's going, over time I might add breakfast, but I'm not going to put any pressure on myself right now because it just won't happen. So make your goal realistic, start from where you are. And finally, time bound. We really like things to be contained, for us to be able to kind of picture and imagine, keep reminding ourselves, I just need to focus on the next few weeks or the period from now to, the end of the summer or whatever my time frame is. This is hard, but it's really important to me. And by this date, this is where I want to be. And, for me to be able to be there, I need to keep trying to get these 10 minutes of meditation, or, fit in this lunch plan 2 days a week, whatever it is. So having that kind of sense of containment can be really useful, whatever it is, whatever makes sense for you. Action plans are another really important step, and it's kind of a step beyond the goals to the real supports and steps around each specific goal that is going to maximize your chances of success. So some actions that might be helpful when it comes to my lunch plan, which was to have lunch 2 weekdays a week, and I'm going to focus on my soup and brown bread. So how can I make that most likely to happen through my action plan? So I might list down all of the possible supports to see where I stand. So I might pick the quietest weekdays. So of, Monday to Friday, Monday and Wednesday are, the days when I have the most time out of meetings, where I can imagine myself being able to fit in lunch. So I'm going to focus on those 2 days. I'm going to schedule them. So I'm going to specifically look at my calendar, see what times, kind of anywhere between like 11 and 2 that I can fit in, 20, 30 minutes for lunch, and actually put it in my diary, put it in my calendar. I'm going to plan the lunches in advance. So I'm going to plan what I'm going to have, put them on the grocery list. Organization is key. I'm going to set an alarm, 10 minutes before my lunchtime, because sometimes things can get so busy that the lunch period will have passed and it'll be 4 o'clock and I won't even notice it. So I'm going to help myself by setting an alarm. I'm going to tell other people, the others in my office or someone else in my household, or whoever I come in contact with, that this is my plan, so that they can maybe, if they notice me still at the desk or still logged in, they might say, oh, you're not having lunch break or whatever it is. I'm going to pick my favorite soups, and I'm going to do pre-made ones. Maybe at some point I'll start making soup, but that's definitely not where I'm starting from. So I'm going to pick my favorite, my tomato and basil, my farmhouse vegetable. They're definitely my favorite. So I'm gonna stick with my favorites, and I'm going to use the curtains for now at least, because the absolute priority is having the lunch. It doesn't have to be any more bells and whistles than that. I'm going to keep track and see, which days I fit in the lunch, and celebrate, each and every time that I get those 2 lunches in, because that's my goal. Doesn't need to be any more than that. But where I miss my goal, for a week or 2 weeks, I'm going to ask myself, what's going on? Do I need more supports? And then I'm going to also, make a plan to notice how I feel in the afternoon, and notice how it impacts my eating in the evening, the days when I manage to fit in my lunch. So that's a lot of things. I might not need all of these. These might not all be, realistic to have this many supports in my action plan, but it's really just to illustrate that there may be a number of things that you can do to support yourself. And as I've said so many times in this session, it is all about seeing opportunities for support and making things as easy as possible. It's not about muscling through. It's not about willpower. It's about support, reminders, prompts, other people giving us a helping hand, all of these kinds of things. A couple more things that can be really important in this planning process. So we know that there are going to be busy times. We know that there are going to be times when we fall off the horse in the journey towards our goals. And because we know those things will happen, it's really important at the planning phase to sit down, with ourselves as part of the process and say, okay, when are the times going to be when I'm going to really struggle with this? Because we know ourselves best. And then put plans into place at this point, so that when those times come, our tired, busy selves have a plan to pull on, to be able to maybe stick to our goals, maybe get back on the horse, whatever it is, without having to think too hard. So when our resources are low, if we already have a plan in mind, that can be really useful to help us stay on the horse or get back on the horse. So for me, I know that when I've had a really busy morning, those are the days when, the lunch is going to go out the window, and I know that about myself. So because I know that, and I can imagine my busy morning self, what can I make a plan? What kind of plan can I put in place now for those times? So I might say, okay, I can pause. I can take 3 deep breaths, no matter how busy my morning has been. And remember, it is okay to take a lunch break, whether it's 10, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour. Everyone takes a lunch break. Because I find one of the things that makes it so hard for me to take 5 is that the emails keep ping, 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 ping. Turn them off. Press X, take a 10-minute break, open them up again. The world would not have ended. Ask someone to join. Bringing other people in, letting other people know what your plans, your goals are, can be really powerful. And then try again tomorrow. Maybe I didn't have lunch today. Just wasn't happening. The 3 breaths made no difference. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. Don't waste time by giving yourself a hard time about the way things go. Let it go. Be understanding towards yourself. Speak to yourself as you would speak to a friend, and try again tomorrow. Last thing, asking ourselves at this planning phase, how will I know that my plan is working? And this is linked to that idea of having a plan that's really personally yours. This is about connecting with how you will feel, which is a great way to keep you persevering through the busy and challenging times towards your goal. So I'll know that my plan is working when I feel like I'm in a routine of having lunch. I feel like I can add lunch on more days. I can have lunch 3 days or 4 days, and I can, do that as gradually as I need to, but I feel like I'm ready for it, or I'm even kind of doing it spontaneously. I notice myself feeling less hungry and distracted in the afternoons, and I feel less of a desire to eat a big meal in the evening, and I feel less resistant to taking time for lunch. So those are just some examples of, how I might imagine that I'll feel once I have my, twice a week lunch routine plus in place for, a month or however long. So I hope that was a useful kind of whistle-stop tour of the whole idea of making changes, changing our lifestyle, and has helped you to maybe shift the way that you look at changing routines and the whole idea of change in general. So what I'd encourage you to do now is to complete the goal setting and action planning handout that you've received. And now that the program has completed, in your own time, you might consider returning to the MyBalance recordings and handouts that you've received each week. You might also consider joining the HeartLink West chats that happen every Thursday at 11 a.m. And you can find out the schedule for those chats on the HeartLink West page on the Croí website. And you can also join our Croí webinars that cover a whole range of heart health topics. And they usually happen on the last Thursday evening of every month. But you can find out more about all of these things and more if you sign up for the Croí weekly email, and you can do that on our website as well. Thank you so much for your time.